Hello, everyone. Lots of updates in regards to the X's and even QNT. If you've seen the video I released a few months ago, this is an update in regards to the ISO 222 mandate for 2025, November 2025. But more importantly, it is the update from the Swift site. So consider sticking around. You're going to want to hear that. Smash that like if you haven't done so already. There are chapters in the description for all those who can't stick around to the end of the outline. And let's start off with XRP. Why is that? Well, basically speaking, lots of recent news today in regards to Ripple XRP. Starting things off with Stuart Alderodi, part of the legal counsel for Ripple. What is his big announcement? Well, as you can see right here, he goes into detail about how he feels as though that the Ripple case is basically over. A lot of people don't know if it really is, but is it truly over? Let me know in the comments, but he states the fair notice defense is still alive for others. The SEC cites the 2017 Dow report as industry notice that crypto asset securities are subject to U.S. securities laws. 7 years later, the SEC apologizes to a federal judge, surely a person of at least ordinary intelligence, for the confusion it invited by using the inherently unclear term. My goodness, a lot of people have been wondering about this for quite some time, but nonetheless, new developments. Here's the original citation from Stuart Alderodi, Chief Legal Officer over at Ripple. And he gets into a little bit more detail about this. But more importantly, when you get to the next page, I don't read all this, but defendants appear to argue that even if the 10 crypto assets were offered and sold as securities during the ICO days, they do not remain securities into perpetuity. The SEC is not advancing this argument. The SEC's allegations with respect to the 10 crypto assets at issue in secondary markets are that their promotions and economic realities have not changed in any meaningful way under, of course, Howey, such that they continue to be offered and sold as investment contracts. Get more into this if you choose to do so. But nonetheless, I thought we'd jump over to here, because in my opinion, here's the things that really, really matter. Congress of the United States, Washington, D.C., September 10, 2024. The dishonorable Gary Gensler, I know it doesn't say that, but might as well call him that, says, for example, Securities and Exchange Commission, Dear Chairman Gensler, the committees on the Judiciary, Financial Services, and Oversight and Accountability are continuing to conduct oversight of the SEC. Recently, the committees learned that the SEC may be hiring civil service employees based on their political affiliations, which is a violation of the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978. We write to request relevant documents and information regarding these allegations. According to an email correspondence made public in a comment to SEC rulemaking, the SEC's decision to hire Dr. Haojing Zhu, the SEC Director of Trading and Markets, may have been influenced by his political affiliation. On May 18, 2021, following a call you held with Dr. Zhu, to discuss his potential employment at the SEC, Dr. Zhu emailed you to affirm his ideological suitability for employment under you, stating, quote, I believe I'm in the right place on the political spectrum, and I'm happy to provide any details as needed so you feel comfortable. The SEC hired Dr. Zhu 6 months later on November 19, 2021. As this correspondence suggests, the SEC appears to be unlawfully considering an applicant's political ideology when hiring bureaucrats. The conclusion only reinforced, of course, by the SEC itself, but, the hiring of. And, of course, they have some citations here. But again, this is something that they're fighting back on. And if the SEC was always trying to reference things from the past, like the Howey test, which I believe dates back to the 40s, then guess what? We can have some people on our side. They're going to fire back when it comes to violations of the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978. Getting more into some of these other key things, understanding where it was cut off, and that is, it says individual from left-leaning organizations to fill senior roles at the SEC. If these allegations are true, the SEC is violating Civil Service Reform Act to fill the agency with employees who possess a particular ideology, again, which undermines the SEC's purported, like they're not living up to what they preach, right? Bottom line is this, goes into more details. They have a call to action to the SEC, and it says that they want them to provide this material as soon as possible, no later than 5 p.m. on September 24th of this year, 2024. So it's a call to action. You see Jim Jordan, chairman of the Committee of the Judiciary. You even see Patrick McHenry there as well, chairman of the Committee of Financial Services. So what happens in regards to this, we won't know, but I thought I'd point it out to you guys. Getting into a little bit more about this, here's another update from johnrose.house.gov. Why is it important? Well, because you see here, plain as day, it is, like it mentioned, the 118th Congress, second section. And it's a House resolution. Well, is it a bill? I mean, it's not completely signed yet, but to establish the Joint Advisory Committee on Digital Assets and for other purposes. In the House of Representatives, Mr. Rose introduced the following bill, which was referred to the committee on, and it hasn't been dated. But again, what does it say? Well, more importantly, it's to establish a Joint Advisory Committee on Digital Assets and for other purposes. And it says, be it enacted by the United States Senate and, of course, the House of Representatives. And basically, it's assembly, but in Section 1, it states this act may be cited as the Bridging Regulation and Innovation for Digital Global and Electronic Digital Assets Act and the Bridge Digital Assets Act. Say what you want when we talk about all this, understanding key dates, September 10th, 2024. But more importantly, again, you're more than welcome to check it out if you go to johnrose.house.gov and type in this particular bill, right? But again, it's not even made yet. You know what I mean? So, will this come to fruition? But more importantly, again, Quant connection. I pointed this out just a few days ago when we talked about this, and basically speaking, I want to mention this. I think it's key. Gilbert Verdian had a call to action with the UK in regards to regulations. That was just a few days before all this. So I think the timing is impeccable here to realize that it's not just the UK, it's not just what's happening in the US, it's like a global effort to get what? Regulations going, because as we know, that is the key towards mass adoption, because if we can get laws passed where it says, yep, we have crossed our T's and dotted our I's, we recognize the technology. How many times have you seen quotations from numerous people in this industry that stated, well, we have the tech, but when is regulations going to catch up? Right. It's never the other way around. But now you're starting to see a taste of that finally, instead of just talking about, like, I've been hearing about this since last bull run. So I thought I'd mention that to you guys. Thought I'd get a little bit more into the weeds about this. Let's take you back to this. And what happens in light of all this? Well, again, there is basically a domino effect. And this is from Fox Business. Check this out. A little bit more talk about XRP.
Tony,
so
it's gone.
No.
How am I going to do this?
Welcome to the...
So basically speaking, yes, Grayscale to launch first U.S. XRP trust, paving its way for potential ETF. Two of Grayscale's single asset investment trusts, Bitcoin and Ether, have evolved, of course, into ETFs this year. But I've seen a lot of, influencers out there saying that there would never be an XRP ETF. Well, in this exclusive, crypto asset manager Grayscale is taking the first step in launching an XRP exchange-traded fund. And more importantly, it's understanding that, man, oh man, I mean, would we see, basically speaking, the U.S.'s first XRP trust, a so-called closed-end fund that will offer accredited investors direct exposure to the beloved XRP? Well, you got to keep in mind, it's, again, referencing some of these things, but more importantly, it's understanding that Grayscale, we understand, is credited with helping to bring the first crypto ETFs to Wall Street. And of course, after they were sued by the SEC last year to allow it to convert to Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to, spot ETFs. Well, you understand that there's things that basically unfolded, and since then Grayscale won the appeal, but it resulted in a flood of Wall Street titans like BlackRock, Fidelity, WisdomTree, and so on to launch their own, of course, Bitcoin ETFs. Also keep in mind, in the past, when the SEC went after, for instance, some of these particular companies, whether it's Grayscale and so on, they decided to immediately cash out the XRP and basically send that money in fiat to some of the investors, right? So we've been there and done that. But more importantly, look at this. Here's another update, because Crypto Basics states that you have the relaunching of these trusts, XRP trusts, right? And again, I mean, for context, like it says, back to what I was stating, Grayscale terminated its previous XRP trust when? January 2021, a few weeks after the SEC charged Ripple with violating federal securities laws. So that's also worth pointing out. Also, despite Ripple securing a partial victory against the SEC last year, Grayscale refused to reintroduce the XRP trust, but now they are. So that's really, really bullish, if you ask me. A little bit more about this, because people do ask it. This is from CoinGape.com. U.S. SEC and Ripple CEO hints at no appeal in XRP lawsuit. Again, some people are wondering, like, well, what's going to happen? Is this finally it? Well, the SEC filed a motion to amend the original complaint in Binance lawsuit, but the government agency regrets using the term, quote, crypto asset securities in crypto cases and decided to drop its use. Is this the end? Let me know, again, what you think in regards to this in the comments. So we get to the next particular part of this. Here it is from a posting over on X from Brad Garlinghouse. What does he have to say in regards to the whole matter? He says he was pleasantly surprised to see this news. Though inevitable, as he said before, XRP having regulatory clarity in the US and other countries, he expects it's only a matter of time for this space to basically grow. And of course, he cites Eleanor Terrett. And again, it's about Grayscale to launch its first US XRP trust, paving a way for a potential ETF. I think this is honestly going to happen. And I've heard the arguments from key people. I'm not going to mention their names and so on. But there's been a lot of nastiness, not necessarily on YouTube. I'm talking about literally on X about some of this stuff. And, I get it. It's a different point of view, but now you see this, and it's kind of like some of these guys are eating their words on us. All right. So basically, it's this. Here's two highlights from a simple Google search. Are you aware, straight from Grayscale, that XRP Trust, a Grayscale one, would be one of the first securities solely invested in and deriving value from the price of XRP that enables investors to gain exposure, of course, to XRP? More importantly, what the heck would be the Grayscale XRP Trust? I'm sure you guys are asking that. Posted literally 8 hours ago. The trust intends to track the market price of XRP with fewer fees and expenditures. It allows investors to get XRP exposure without purchasing, storing, or safeguarding the cryptocurrency. XRP is based, of course, as we know, on Ripple Network, a decentralized blockchain tech for value exchange. So we get more into this. What about citation from Grayscale? Well, you see here that it looks like it is listed, and you see that they give you options on how to invest. But like it says, the navigation per share, or NAV, I should say, as of today, Friday the 13th, $11.34, straight from grayscale.com. Very, very interesting. And of course, it has a lot of things about the reference to this. And I thought it was kind of cool to see some of this, visualizations about, again, our beloved XRP. Is that it? Well, not really. Even if you go to 21 shares, they have, for example, 21 shares Ripple XRP ETP, and they have some references as well. 100% physically backed by XRP, fifth largest crypto asset by market cap. 21 shares Ripple XRP ETP, course, tracks performances. And I get this is ETP and not ETF, but still worth pointing out. A little bit more about this. This is from Amalia, or pronouncing it right, Crypto Barbie. She says she doesn't feel as though the SEC is going to appeal. And more importantly, it's like behind closed doors what's going on, but wait for all the partnerships getting announced soon, which have been made without anyone's knowledge. Remember what Brad Garlinghouse said. Ripple has partnered with several central banks around the world. Some have been announced and some haven't yet been announced because what? Probably because of NDAs. All right. So how many times have you guys heard me talk about specifically, the BRICS nations? Well, check this out. This gets good as well. Because BRICS, for example, you have India, that's part of the I in BRICS, but India and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, reportedly used the crypto XRP for a major oil transaction. That's definitely worth pointing out. Yes, it's from the middle of August, but more importantly, it's only about a month long. And everything in light of like what's going on with the BRICS nations, you got to keep in mind when you see these highlights that says that the global economy is undergoing significant changes, but it's the context of profound transformations and how, for example, you see established certainties. So rumors suggest an agreement between India and the United Arab Emirates to conclude an oil transaction circumventing the US dollar in favor of the crypto XRP. Now, if this unfolds, basically, would we see broader de-dollarizations, like a strategy pursued by the BRICS nations? Well, I think that's a yes. But more importantly, it's understanding that as we continue to have these tensions and they intensify, would it mark the beginning of a new era of international trade? And of course, when we talk a lot about trade, people wonder about XDC part of this mix, and we'll definitely get into that. But here's some of the key things I think we shouldn't dismiss. And that is this oil transaction between India and the United Arab Emirates, if confirmed, would represent a significant break from traditional international trade practices. And by considering the use of a crypto XRP instead of the US dollar to settle this transaction, these two nations potentially send a strong signal of their intention to liberate themselves from basically the greenback, as in the US dollar. But keep in mind, would it be facilitated by the XRP ledger system? And more importantly, would this operation represent not just a simple financial transaction, but a true act of economic independence? That is definitely worth pointing out, which brings us to this next part. Because some people say, well, that says if. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm with you guys. So back to Project Enbridge. They reach a minimal viable product stage and, of course, invites further international participation. Think about that for a second, everybody. This was on the 5th of June, 2024. We also saw reports when it came to, Russia, the Central Bank of Russia, in the report showing in the interpretation from that book or PDF pamphlet, 3 times XRP was mentioned in regards to the Central Bank of Russia. And more importantly, numerous instances of mentioning Ripple. So we feel as though that it's more than established that the BRICS nations, more in particular, Russia, is going to use XRP. But that was also in June. Again, look at Enbridge in regards to June. And when some people say, well, why mention Enbridge? I'll show you this in a brief moment. You want to stick around for that. When I basically full screen this, you will see that you see plain as day that the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates, the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, you have the whole thing of that being as a direct result, I should say, on the top part, of a collaboration. And it dated all the way back to 2021. And of course, was between Bank International Settlements Innovation Hub. But you have, for example, the Saudi Central Bank joining the Enbridge as a full participant. Now, we know that the Saudis are even part of BRICS as well, but you have to keep in mind, when I take you to the next slide, man, does this get good? Maybe you feel as though it gets bad. I don't know. But nonetheless, dating all the way back to 2018, Saudi Arabia's central bank did sign a blockchain deal with Ripple. Some people don't even know about that. Some people maybe haven't referenced it. Maybe the green guy has. I don't know. But Saudi Arabia's central bank has signed a deal with US-based Ripple to help banks in the kingdom settle payments using what? blockchain software. So that's very, very interesting. But more importantly, to pound it home just a little bit more, what does it say here? Saudi Central Bank, again, this is from BRICS News, has purchased 160 TONNES. I don't know if that's a different one. I don't want to mispronounce it. So of gold, maybe it's tonnes, I don't know, of gold in Switzerland. This gold is set to back the new currency unit, which will be part of a basket of assets. Think about this. BRICS unit will be backed by the currencies of OPEC countries, with 60% of the basket supported by OPEC gold reserves. That in itself, I think, pounds home everything, because how many times do we see these examples that BRICS, they're not going to promote the use of the US dollar because it's not backed by anything. If anything, they want something that's gold backed. All right, getting into the next part of what I have. So check this out. Saudi Central Bank caught secretly buying that. That, again, is the reference, just in case you're wondering about that. It's posted yesterday. I just want to show you how recent it was. And more importantly, let's take off some of the branding, because guess what? That will lead us over to here. And boy, oh boy, check this out. Swift.com, once again, what does it say? New proposal from the European Commission would basically mandate financial institutions across Europe to offer IBAN name check services to their customers. At Swift, they think that this is a great opportunity to facilitate interoperability between domestic confirmation of payee systems around the world. I mean, think about that for a second, interoperability around the world. So I'm going to take you to a little bit more about this. And as we get more into the weeds about it, it says, what does the European regulatory or regulation say? Well, basically speaking, it goes on to mention that the new regulation proposed by the European Union would mandate banks to offer pre-validation services to the customers. Banks and other providers will be required to check that the IBAN and beneficiary name match before payment is sent, as part of a wider initiative to make instant payments the new norm across the continent. Alongside the expected reduction in fraud, this regulation will help to reduce the friction to what already exists within a payments lifecycle. 72% of SWIFT payments requiring manual interventions are the result of avoidable errors such as formatting issues, incorrect account numbers, and invalid data. This regulation seeks to drive that percentage down, helping keep funds safe and moving on their way. And of course, what does it also say? Well, come on. Interoperability is the answer. Yeah, absolutely. So jump into the next part of this, I want you guys to understand a little bit more about this, because the European Commission published this a while back about a legislative proposal on instant payments that dated back to October 26th of 2022. But here's the important thing. It's understanding that the proposal was to aim to ensure that instant payments in euro are affordable, secure, and processed without hindrance across the European Union. Instant payments allow people to transfer money at any time, any day within 10 seconds. Again, think about it, 10 seconds. So we know that with XRP, you're going to get finality roughly around that time. And more importantly, it's what things like Quant can also bring to the table, especially with comes to the European Union. So in my opinion, all this is in line with this call to action, whether it's from Gilbert Verdian or some of the recent rulings. But the other thing is, when you see the statement about a much faster, compared to the traditional credit transfers, and understanding that the proposal removes or aims to remove barriers that prevent instant payments and their benefits to become more widespread. Again, understanding these things were introduced a while back, but more importantly, what do we have now in regards to this, and what particular cryptocurrencies would be in line with some terms of, for example, like IBAN? Well, brings you to this, Trasta. They mentioned that you could buy Ripple with IBAN. Trasta offers its customers the ability to buy Ripple with IBAN instantly through bank transfers. And more importantly, how many times do you see this mentioned? Well, it goes on to say that you can buy Ripple with IBAN, but more importantly, it's understanding that It's a long-awaited solution in which, basically speaking, it's the, I guess you could say, like a Visa debit card that includes a personal IBAN with it. Now, some of you guys are going to be wondering, does it mention XRP? It does, and it mentions that Trasta payment accounts can now be issued to buy XRP with IBAN quickly and securely, but Trasta account and Trasta Visa card can buy Ripple for Euro by clicking on the Exchange Funds button and selecting XRP. So that's really interesting to see that. And some people are saying, well, this is from a while back. I understand. But is it really truly the best place to buy Ripple XRP? And more importantly, does it mention some other things? Well, it does. And you got to keep in mind that you're going to see more solutions starting to pop up, and you're going to hear more about this thing about IBAN. So I thought I'd get more into the weeds about this. And more in particular, I want you guys to see some other key areas about this, because again, I feel as though it's definitely worth pulling out. Because again, Trasta, crypto salary card, straight from their site Trasta.com, states that they have a unique value proposition for use with USDC stablecoin and personal IBAN. Obviously, Stellar with USDC stands out, and of course, that's was something that was a reference from all the way back in May 26, 2021. But if you're not aware of it, about IBAN, it stands for International Bank Account Number. So, how many times have we heard that Ripple XRP is going to be the global reserve asset? Well, some people have also mentioned in the past that basically in the future, XRP would be basically like a global bank account to a sense. Is this pounding that home? Maybe some people don't agree with that. But when I get more into the weeds about this, I think it does. So I want to take you to this next particular part, because here is an update. Man, oh man, oh man. Let's take off some of the branding in regards to this. Let's get really into the weeds of this. So you see on February 26, 2024, that you have from concilium.europa.eu, the council adopts regulation on, of course, instant payments. But more in particular is understanding some key things here, and that is that the new rules will improve the strategy in regards to bringing this all to the economic and financial sectors, but more importantly, it's the benefits. Instant payments regulation will allow people to transfer money within 10 seconds. That pounds at home. Payment service providers such as banks will be able to provide standard credit transfers in Europe. Euro will be required to offer services of sending and receiving instant payments in Euro. Again, back to the IBAN thing. But more in particular, when you get to this part, what does it say? The regulation grants access for payment e-money institutions to payment systems by changing the settlement finality directive. As a result, these entities will be covered by obligation to offer the service of sending and receiving instant credit transfers. So, does it reference IBAN? And guess what? It does, because regulations were followed suit with this. Look at this, guys. This is unbelievable. The regulation includes appropriate safeguards to ensure that the access of PEI EMIs to payment systems don't carry additional risk to the system. Don't carry additional risk? XRP doesn't carry additional risk? Apparently not. What about other ones part of the whole thing? Well, we'll get into that. But listen to this. A lot of people aren't talking about this. Under the new rules, instant payment providers will need to verify that the beneficiary's IBAN and name match in order to alert the payer to possible mistakes, or fraud before the transactions is made. See, what you want, you have, for example, with Quant Authorized solving that solution. Remember I talked about how Quant would be the orchestrator? If you don't believe me on that, go to quant.network, type in Authorize, learn about the product. And again, this pounds home everything about how ISO TC307 will be the orchestrator for ISO 222. This requirement will apply to regular transfers as well, but the regulation includes a review clause with a requirement for the Commission to present a report containing an evaluation of the development of credit charges. And man, it gets even better. Listen to this. The initiative comes in the context of a completion of the Capital Markets Union. Back to what Larry Fink was talking about. The Capital Markets Union is the European Union's initiative to create a truly single market for capital across the European Union. It aims to get investment and savings flowing across all member states for the benefit of citizens, businesses, and of course, investors. And more importantly, when we jump over here, when we jump over here, this is straight from docs.ripple.com/payments-ODL on-demand liquidity. And what is cited here in plain English? IBAN, international bank account number, IBAN for the account. This is coded in already. I think that's a huge deal. And look at this. About that mandate. SWIFT, ISO 222 in bytes for payments. Focus on instruction for messages for November 2025. My goodness, what do we have? Well, like it says, dating back to a couple months ago, and I'll give you a new citation. Again, I said it was an update. It is ISO 222 in bytes for payments. Focus on instruction messages for November 2025. But more importantly, what does it say here? It says that, for example, following the steady progress, as March 2024 meeting, the SWIFT board reconfirmed the community's commitment to November 2025 as the end of the MT/ISO 222 cross-border coexistence period, emphasizing that priority should be given to instruction messages to ensure operational continuity and ongoing interoperability. Jump into a little bit more about why this is important. Goes on to also mention that the FIN/MT message types in the scope of the migration, including reporting/statements, will not be withdrawn from the FIN service immediately in November 2025, but these message types that are deprecated, meaning they are no longer maintained by SWIFT. Think about that, as we talked about, for example, the BRICS nations, and disincentives will be introduced at the later date. So, financial institutions are strongly advised to switch to their ISO 222 equivalents as soon as possible. And think about the ones that are part of the ISO 222 mix. Getting into a little bit more about this, as the PMPG highlighted, and here we go, because how many times you see in the talk about BRICS about new hybrid, I mean, think about it. A new hybrid postal address option will be introduced as of November 2025 in SWIFT, and leading payment infrastructures, market infrastructures. A hybrid address allows simultaneous usage of structured and unstructured elements within a minimum a structured town name and, of course, country. But the decision aims to smoothen the implementation process while improving data quality globally by ensuring that fully structured hybrid or fully unstructured postal addresses may be used during a 1-year grace period from November 2025 to November 2026. Again, think about postal addresses. As we know, postal addresses, that's not zip codes. Yes, zip codes are postal addresses, but you got to keep in mind, like, back in the days when I used to work for the hotel industry, you ask somebody what their zip code is. If they're outside the United States, especially in Canada, they're going to be like, do you mean my postal code? Because, they don't call it zip codes. A little bit more about this. This is also good. I think we should all recognize this. So November 2025, November 2026, and then more important, it's recognizing the preparation for a standards release 2025, because the CBPR Plus working group also drafted new usage guidelines in regards to that citation about a receipt and correspondence messages. These guidelines are anticipated to be available by the end of 2024 and mark another important milestone in the evolution of CBPR Plus standards. Wow. That is really, really something else. And to finalize it, no pun intended, financial institutions currently using MT101 for relaying customer payments need to transition to the Payne.001 interbank relay on FIN Plus. And this process is to be completed by the end of the coexistence period in November 2025. So that is really, really worth pointing out. And again, I think it's all worth pointing out because it's like, is this in light of everything that we research? Well, I think so. But more importantly, this is where I want to take you, because this is the September 12th update. Yesterday, SWIFT, how ISO 222 is helping BNY navigate the future of payments. But more importantly, look at what it says. With the end of MT-ISO 222 cross-border coexistence period coming in November 2025, Fedwire scheduled to migrate in March of 2025. And guys, if you saw my deep dive about FedNow and also when it came to specifically XLM, it was Temenos. Okay, Temenos is your plug and connect for Stellar with FedNow. What was it, 1600, 1700, maybe it was 1800. Anyway, anywhere between 1600 and 1800 particular banks, right? And that was the plug and connect for Stellar. So this also really, really stands out for Stellar big time, because you do see a call to action and, if anything, an update in regards to that specific mandate. Man, oh man. So the other part I want to jump into is back to the whole talk about IBAN. Does SWIFT recognize it? They do. Look what it says. New proposal from the European Commission would mandate financial institutions across Europe to offer IBAN named check services to their customers. As SWIFT, they think is a great opportunity to facilitate interoperability between domestic confirmation of pay systems around, of course, the world. Definitely worth pointing out there as well. And more importantly, let's take it to the next particular part, because how does this like kind of come into play when it comes to everything else? Well, remember, call to action even from Quant, August 27, 2024, because SEPA, instant payments, why banks need to act now. And again, I don't need to even preach about this really, because when you see the importance of this, you got to keep in mind that back to 2017, SEPA instant payments were created to allow transfer money between accounts in euros. And basically, it was in less than 10 seconds. And what does it say? 24/7, 365. So you understand that, boom, you got Quant connection here. Boom, you have the whole thing of SEPA payments. You know, the Eurozone, excuse me, will be required to enable their clients to do this. And there's a deadline for that, January 9th of 2025. And to send the instant payments by October 9th of 2025. That's also a mandate when it comes for recognizing SEPA, and we've already done studies about SEPA, Quant, and so on. I would point that out as well. All right, this gets really, really good, because some people say there's no mention about IBAN and QNT. And man, this is a needle in the haystack to find here. Dr. Martin Heisboek, head of research at Uphold. Man, oh man, look what he says here. Digital euro will be simulated and linked to IBAN bank accounts. I'll say it again, just in case this flew past your head. Digital euro will be simulated and linked to IBAN bank accounts before it will become a payment standard. And look what ones he posts on his citation, on his tags. Talks about D-Euro, stablecoin, banking, CBDCs, e-blockchain, finance, interoperability, and the only one he tags is what, guys? Is QNT, and that date all the way back to December 13th, 2021. I did reshare that on the quote on X. All right, takes us to the next part. We promised some XDC. Listen to this, man. I'm telling you, the X's and QNT will absolutely explode when regulations are fully here, and it's game over. Instant settlement liquidity. Tokenization enables the fractional ownership of assets, including illiquid assets. We know about this, but you got to keep in mind is what it means for what's represented as tokens and how they can be traded, exchanged, or more importantly, increased with liquidity. But there has to be compliance. And more importantly, on the bottom, what does it say? Plain as day, by leveraging these benefits, the payments and remittances industry can become, and basically what? Can become, plain as day, this. More efficient, accessible, and user-friendly. It might be fun to ask your banking provider about setting up international bank account, aka IBAN. And that's reference from XDC settlements using your XDC, because some people are asking about it. And it says the answer may surprise you. My goodness gracious, great balls of fire. A little bit more about this to pound it home a little bit more from XDC. Look what it says from XDC News. Please write this, gentleman, your 11 reasons why Uphold, back to that reference, Uphold should list, for example, things like GBEX. But again, think about it. That's worth pointing out, because as we saw, Uphold, XDC, Uphold, for example, IBAN, I think that pounds that home. As we get more into this, look at this. One more mention. Here's another mention. Let's put the XLM back on there. This guy says he uses Wirex. It's like every Visa card, plus IBAN, SEPA bank account. Oh my gosh. Plus crypto wallet, plus crypto back, excuse me. App is easy to use, and the exchange rates are quite fair, except for Wirex token. Waiting for premium services and stable coins, and you see XLM being listed as well there as well on a citation. But more importantly, it's not just about public opinion or retail opinion. It's what was originally posted, because this is from Wirex wallet partners with Stellar blockchain. This is from a Medium, to create what? The first non-custodial wallet in the world. Again, with Stellar blockchain dating back to February 5th, 2023, and you see it plain as day. That's how you even have, for example, the likes of, you saw it, Stellar. So I thought I would get into the weeds of all this. Glad to bring it to you guys. If you simply listen to the outline, do me a favor and simply type into the comments mandate, and I'll know that you listened to the entire outline. I really appreciate you guys listening to these deep dives. Man, if you recognize that anything about the accumulation period that we're in, understand what you have and why you hold it, because the research does trump FUD 110%. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.